Each country employs a different form of governance structure. There are several types of governance structure in use. The monarchy, which is a style of the government in which the king is the head of states, is an example of the governance systems. Oligarchy is a political system or kind of government in which a power is concentrated in a small group of people who are primarily from the same family, social class, economic group, or political party. Aristocracy was a kind of governance that consolidated power in the hand of the limited number of people who had the privilege of ruling, or a social class defined in such a way that qualifies and frequently opposing citizens considered as is the finest governments. Tyranny is a kind of autocratic governance in which rulers of governments, tribes, and other organizations utilize their powers to oppress the populations at their discretions. A dictator is a leader who has absolute power over his country. A dictator has the power to implement his own laws without consulting other people or organizations. Democracy is a form of government in which individuals vote for representatives to govern them. Our country,
Each country employs a different form of governance structure.
There are several types of governance structure in use. The monarchy, which is a style of the government in which the king is the head of
Countries
state,
that
is
adopt
an
a
example of
democratic
the
system
governance
has laws
systems.
that can
Oligarchy
usually
is a
guarantee
political
the rights
system
and
or kind of
entitlements of
government in
citizens
which a
to
power is
participate
concentrated in
in
a small
elections.
group of
Elections
people
in
who are
Malaysia are
primarily
managed
from
by
the
the
same family,
elections
social
commissions.
class, economic group, or political party. Among the conditions to become a voter is that a person must be a Malaysian citizen who is 21 years old and above, is eligible to register as a voter, is a resident of any constituency in Malaysia, and is not disqualified. In Malaysia, there are no different segments or categories in issues involving voters. Every eligible Malaysian has the right to go to the polls regardless of race or religion and gender. As Malaysians, it is very important for all of us to participate in the elections by fulfilling our responsibility as voters by voting for whichever candidate we think is most suitable to be elected. Elections are a field where the power and voice of the people play a very important role in the governance of the country. The power of the people begins with the participation of the people as voters in elections to choose who has the right to be the government and lead the country. On 4 September 1957, the Elections Commission of Malaysia was established. This has been based on the Article 114 of the Federal Constitution. To assist in carrying out its duties, the Election Commission has established a secretariat headed by the Secretary. The Secretary is also the Chief Administrator of the Secretariat.
Article 113(2) of the Federal Constitution requires that the boundaries review of electoral division be complete within 2 years after the boundary review notice is issued. Electoral division boundary review is implemented if before the period of 8 years there is an amendment to the law related to the number of Dewan Rakyat seats or state assembly seats. It must be accordance with the provision of Article 113(3)(a) of the Federal Constitution. Within 2 years from the effective date of the law, the redemarcation must be complete. The ideas of Part 1 and Part 2 13 schedule are among those taken into account in the electoral division boundaries review, where during election and constituency, the facility available for citizens to vote do not cross state boundaries, taking into account the resources of the area administration to deliver the necessary registration and voting machine, in accordance with what stipulated in the Federation Constitution, unless there are communication problem and rural transportation. It's important to consider the size of the constituency as well as maintain local ties with determining a fair number of votes for each district in a state. This is due to the fact that visible features as well as other boundaries such as landlord, mukim, district and state boundaries define the boundaries of the constituency. Through this delineation, the election held will divide the constituency according to the total population and allow our resident or voters in each constituency to elect their respective election representative. This means that every vote is taken into account. Therefore, redemarcation has many benefits because it includes fostering democracy in the country by prioritizing the voice and will of the people to elect a leader as its representative.
One of the EC's responsibilities is to register eligible citizens as voters so that they can participate in the election of representatives in accordance with Article 113 of Federal Constitution with governs of elections procedures. One of the requirements for voter registration is that the voter is a Malaysian citizen who is at least 21 years old and above, live in the constitution of the registered and is not prohibited and disqualified by authorities' laws. The EC conducts two types of voter registrations, namely new registrations. The EC accepts applications from citizens who apply to register as voters for the first times. In addition, change of address registrations and polling center, the EC will accept applications from registered voters who apply to register their new residential address. There are two types of voters, namely ordinary voters and absentee voters can be registered by the EC based on the election law. Registered voters who need to be present to vote at polling stations during the elections are ordinary voters, while the group of voters specified in Regulation 2, election rules under the Registration of Voters 2002, namely military personnel, civil servants serving, as well as full-time students studying abroad, absentee voters can be voted by post.
Another function of the Election Commission is to conduct general election to the Dewan Rakyat and State Legislative Assembly and to conduct by-election in the event of vacancy. This is because the EC is given to the power and responsibility in handling and managing the election that take part in our country. This is to ensure that the election process in our country can be carried out systematically and smoothly without any disruption that could disrupt the election held. The general election or by-election in Malaysia conducted by the EC involves 6 stages, namely the issuance of right, nomination of candidate, election campaign, voting, official aggregation of vote, and announcement of election result. Among the way the EC conduct election is the first issuance of writ. The EC will issue a writ. A writ is a letter of authority to conduct an election to be submitted to an appointed managing officer. The issuance of a writ occurs due to occurrence of unexpected vacancies such as due to death or due to the dissolution of parliament. Apart from that, the second way for the EC to conduct election is to hold a nomination day. The EC managing officer will receive nomination form from candidates who wish to contest, proposer or supporter of all three. The form that need to be stamped at the stamp duty office are the statutory account form, which is Form 5 for candidate for Dewan Rakyat member and Form 5A for candidate for State Assemblyman. The managing officer will declare the candidate eligible to contest. If only one candidate is eligible, the managing officer will announce the candidate as the winner without contesting. Subsequently, the EC will allow candidates of their representative to start the campaign when the nomination procedure is complete, including the installation of poster, lecture, distribution of pamphlet, and door-to-door campaign. These activities must stop at 12 a.m. on election day. Candidate have to pay a campaign material deposit of 5,000 for parliamentary election and 3,000 for state assembly election to campaign. Similarly, it will be required to pay a fee to the local government for installation of poster. Candidate must obtain police permission to organize open discussion. Next, the EC will hold a polling day. Register voter will go out to vote at polling stations designed by the EC and will start at AM to 5 PM nationwide. In some area in Sabah and Sarawak, the time to go out to vote has been shortened. This is due to security factor and the difficulty in obtaining transportation facility to get to the polling station. Ballot paper will be counted by the head of polling station once the voting is complete. Form 14 will be used to record the result of the counting of vote. The managing officer of constituency will declare the candidate who received the majority vote and confirm him as the elect representative of the constituency when the Form 14 and 15 are complete. The result is undeniable. Election petitions are viable channel for any party that is dissatisfied with the result that has been submitted.
Based on the argument given, it can be concluded that the Election Commission is one of the important commissions in the country. This is due to its role in conducting election efficiently and with trust in accordance with the role laid down in the National Constitution. With the election conducted by the EC, it is able to ensure the smooth running of the election. In addition, examine the EC strategy in forming a fair, clean and systematic electoral system and suggest solutions to problems and issues that arise. This is because elections are very important to the people. At that time, the people have the power to elect elected representatives who will lead our country towards the better. The EC needs the support of the federal government to adapt solutions to problems arising from the circle of the electoral process, which can damage public confidence in the existing system. Ultimately, the electoral system is an important thing to run. This is because with the system, it is able to provide space and opportunity for the people to participate in developing the country for the better. Therefore, the EC must be a neutral body and free from political influence. This is because it can reduce trust and confidence in the EC if there is a biased decision.